All right, to the hockey world next, where you want to talk NHL props tonight. You mentioned it briefly in passing this morning, but the Dimers props for hockey have been absolutely dialed in. You have cracked the Da Vinci Code here. You've got a strategy here with us. What do you got?
Yeah, I actually called Tom Hanks, and he could not make this podcast. I really needed him to help me out here, as we've crunched the riddles and the numbers, and we've solved it all. Found something nice to correlate on the Dimers website the past few days that I've used the strategy in the past, and I've gone back to it the past couple of days. And basically, players who get an edge in both goals and points they ping on my radar. They pop up also for an assist or in our trends as well. Even better. I'll show you a couple examples from the past few days. This is one from Tuesday. I can confirm that Mason Marchment was also in here. I have a funny little story about this one. These four guys all had a point and a goal edge on site, so that's why I picked them. So I loaded up these four guys into my bet slip, and I wanted to include Mason Marchment. However, they had points and goals markets closed at that time, so I couldn't get him in there, and it was almost podcast time. So I threw in a little 10-cent play on this so I could quickly pull up the bets, the bare minimum you could put in, and pull them up later, add Marchment, and ride out the parlay. Well, then we recorded a podcast, and then I had 2 meetings, and I forgot to play it properly. So while this is green, it returned me a whopping $9. However, if I did get to playing it, I would have cashed a nice plus 1,500 using this strategy. And then here last night, I wrote up an article for this as well, but there were these four guys caught my radar. Again, Tomas Hertl, Dylan Holloway, and Logan Stankoven, who did not come through against the worst defense in the NHL, despite being on the floor for at least one of the goals, all but one of which had 2 assists. So there, he was right there. He should have had it, but that's okay. But you could see, what's that? 9 out of the 10 guys right there who had point and goal edges cashed a point. Some of these guys scored a goal. I played them all straight as goal scorers, so I cashed 2 of those at like plus 240, plus 300 odds. And there were some other guys. Somebody in the Discord posted they literally took every single player who had both. I think it was 11 of them, and I think 4 missed. It was about a 75% hit rate on those. So really good insights here. Obviously, if you do parlays, you're not going to hit them all the time and whatnot, but just worth pointing out that there is a little bit of a strategy here using this criteria. So I figured we could see who meets that criteria tonight, maybe build a little 3 or 4 legger, or just, highlight some guys, and you can do what you want with them. I've got a few players in mind already that I've researched before the show, but since things can change on site as odds and lines move, I figured we might as well just pull it up. I'll at least show you the quick process of how I go through finding these guys. And, we'll see if anybody different pops up notably. So I'll bring up our NHL props page here if I can find it. And so the first thing I do is I go into filter props, go to prop type, and take out everything but goal and point. I will throw in assists if I can't find enough guys that line up to see if there's somebody who has point and assist or goal and assist. But really, you're looking for point and goal because a point is a goal or assist. So you got 2 ways to get it. If you get the goal, you get the point. Pretty simple, right? So I highlight those 2 markets, and I can already tell you Logan Cooley is one of them that I have on our radar tonight. You can go scroll through everything. What I prefer to do is go game by game. So we'll come here. We'll go to Mammoth Flyers. We got 11 total props. And then if you're looking for a specific player, you can just search here. But we can see Logan Cooley, edge for a point, edge for a goal, hits exactly what we're looking for. He's going to come up again later as well. Jamie Drysdale of the Flyers, point, goal, he hits the marks. So that's pretty much the whole process, and then you go to another game. I will often start with the games that I think have the best goalie and defensive matchups, teams that are giving up the more goals and points, usually a good place to start. Check out Jets Lightning. I was hoping Braden Point would be on here for a point because we got him for a goal and it's a good matchup, but he does not. Actually, nobody in this game hits both. So that's one that I would have liked because it's got a good bowling matchup, but you can't always get what you want, said the famous Mick Jagger. Senators Flames. So it looks like, oh, that's right. Greedon was here with a point and assist, which I'll talk about. But you got Sharangovich here, point and a goal. Not really great form lately, and you got a higher probability on the young Russian here. So that is one reason I put him on my radar, and I'll talk about him as we get to the players, which I think we can move to now. I've showed you the general strategy here, but yeah, go game by game, select the certain props you want. You'll find a couple guys who stand out. If they also have an over on their shots on goal, that's probably a good sign as well. And like I said, if they also pop up in the trends, that's a pretty good thing too. So I think trends in hockey are a little bit more indicative or are a better data point than trends in the NBA or the NFL because there's so many more factors that happen in that. Hockey, especially if someone's got good shot volume, points, assists, you can really tell how much they're contributing on a nightly basis. So let's look at the 4-5 guys or so that I think are worth getting a point or playing to get a point here. And we'll start with let's see who's up first. Sorry, lost my place. All right, the Ranger, Will Coyle, I believe it is. So we got him at 50.3% to get a point. Pretty solid here. 29.3% for a goal. 29 points, fifth on the Rangers. With Panarin gone, 2 points in 3 games since the break. Skates on the top line and more ice time, about 2.5 extra minutes since Panarin was traded to the Kings. Goalie matchup is pretty good. Last I checked, he was unconfirmed, but the projected starter for the Leafs is Joseph Woll, 3.05 goals against average, 907 save percentage on the year. Since January, though, he's allowed 6 games of 4+ goals, 4 games of 5+. Leafs allow the 5th most goals in the NHL at 3.42 per game. Like I was just talking about in Flames Senators, Matt Greedon. So he does not hit the point and goal, but he does have point and assist, which are interchangeable. If you get one, you will. Well, if you get an assist, you'll get a point. If you get a point, it doesn't matter how you got it. He's a first rounder for the 2024 draft in his 3rd stint of the season after his latest call up. Played earlier in the year. Team activated Jonathan Huberdeau, sent him down. They called him up. They sent him down for the Olympics. But he's got 6 points in 16 games in the NHL. A pretty impressive 29 and 36 in the AHL. Does play on the 3rd line. So, not quite as much exposure. But so does the other guy who meets the criteria, Igor Sharangovich. And Greedon's got the better probabilities tonight. Goalie matchup also was unconfirmed before the show, but Linus Ullmark for the Senators, 884 save percentage, coming off his worst game of his last 5, allowing 5 goals in an overtime loss to Edmonton. Flames tagged him for 3 goals earlier this season, and he's given up 6+ 3 times. So probably a nice little chance here for Greedon, who gets a high edge in both of these markets. Next, there are 2 guys in this game that stand out to me. Logan Cooley, as I mentioned, 53.2% for a point, 36.1% for an assist, 27.4% for a goal. That's big value on the point with plus money and our implied fair odds of -115. So that alone is a great straight. He missed almost all of December and January, but came back after the break, got 3 points in 4 games, 1 goal and 2 assists, 26 total points in 33 games this season. Very consistent. Goalie matchup is a little concerning. Not for the predictions, but just as far as the matchup is Flyers goalie Dan Vladar. Really good, 2.4 goals against average, is 7th best in the NHL. 2 or fewer goals, in his last 5 games. He was stellar in the Olympics for Czechia. However, the Flyers are underdogs tonight, so there's something there. They do think the model does think the Mammoth is going to get through. So do the books, obviously. So don't think you need to shy away from him just because of the goalie matchup, but you should be aware that they could be a little hard to come by against the Flyers. In that same game, Jamie Drysdale. If you want the better goalie matchup, this is where you're going, but just at lower probabilities. 44.5% for a point, almost 35% for an assist, just around 15% for a goal. He's got 25 points in 57 games, 2 since the break. Mammoth allow the 4th fewest goals in the entire NHL, but the matchup for the goalie is a little bit better. Getting Vanacek, who's allowed 3+ goals in 9 of his last 11 since he opened the season, with 3 games allowing only 2. So you're getting a combination here of a rough, not very good goalie, but a very good defense. If you're going to do like a round robin or something, you got to pick one realistically, but they both have some very good spots from the model. They align up with multiple edges. All 3 of them get all 3 edges here, which I think is pretty notable. And one more guy, Mason Marchment, the one who I could not get the other night. So surely he will get it tonight when I do bet on him. 56.4% for a point, 32% for a goal. Got high value on the goal, 6.6% edge, 4 points in 4 games since the Olympics break. Florida has had their goaltending woes this year, mostly from Sergei Bobrovsky, which is kind of interesting. He's been an integral part of their cup runs lately, but they've allowing the 7th most goals per game, and they look to turn to Daniel Tarasov getting the start tonight. Pretty solid 2.8 goals against average, 903 save percentage. Stumbled a bit lately. A lot of 5-goal game right before and after the break. And this is an interesting one here. While we have him, I'll just pull up. Now, I don't bother pulling up the projections. We don't need to do that again. But I will just mention that there were 3 guys in this game that hit these criteria. Kent Johnson hit all 3 props, and you had Sean Monahan hitting point and assist. So when I see something like that, I go and I check the season stats. I see how they stack up. Monahan's got 29 points in 56 games. Johnson's got 18 in 57. Mason Marchment has 17 points in 18 games since being traded to the Blue Jackets. He had more than he had in his previous 29 with the Kraken. So he's excelled in his new home. He's been on fire before and after the break and just killing it since he came over. So looks like Marchment to me in this game. And pretty much that's how I would approach tonight's slate. Looking for the guys who hit multiple boxes and have good to moderately favorable matchups. So how to play these guys, that's mostly up to you. I think there's 3 main ways. You play them straight as points or goal scorer props, play them as a points parlay, or as a goal scorer round robin. And that's exactly what I did last night. And if Stankoven gets a point, we cash 3 of the 4 straights, a ×3 on the round robin, and the 4-leg points parlay. He didn't, so I cashed 2 goal scorer straights, a very small, modest return on a 2 ×2 round robin. But if you played all the top guys, you crushed it because we had Brock Boeser of the Canucks in there. But I wanted to play the other side of the matchup personally. So seems like a good strategy. That's worked out the last couple nights. It's worked for me in the past. And I'm going to roll with it again tonight using these 5 guys that we've highlighted here. Lots of ways to play the NHL, but this stands out to me a lot.
I love it. Anytime you come with, hey, I got a new strategy, you have my full attention, from the home run round robins in baseball season to some of the first touchdown concepts you've applied with football. Now you're in the hockey world, and I love it. Using the Dimers models data in a fun, creative way and a smart way, quite frankly. That's how this is supposed to work, ladies and gentlemen. Be like Dave. Get Dimers Pro. Get 50% off with promo code podcast, that you can sort your way through all of these projections for every game that you're looking at in the sports world. And hopefully you get some good luck for this, Dave, because that was a wonderful presentation of how to bet NHL tonight.